Continuing the investigation into this issue with the destroyers and the submarine cables. Now, some of you have taken issue with me referring to this as submarine cables. Submerged cables, submarine cables. You can go Google the term submarine cables all you want, and there's hundreds and hundreds of websites and articles and news organizations and companies that refer to these as submarine cables. That's what they're called. So, marine, of course, referring to the ocean, sub meaning under. Anyway, just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, this article here is Miami Herald. And it's basically dealing with the same issue that we were dealing with, that probably one of the greatest unsecured assets the world has right now are these undersea cables. And if somebody were to be able to cut them or disrupt them, they could cause massive problems. Example being, one got cut back in 2008 near Egypt. Actually, 3 of them got cut. And we were running these unmanned sorties, these Predator drone sorties, over Iraq and Afghanistan at the time, and it cut the amount of those that we were able to do from hundreds a day to dozens a day because of the loss of the communication back here to the U.S. So it's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal. And in this particular article here, I brought it up basically because it states clearly, the infrastructure that underpins the internet, these undersea cables, are clearly vulnerable, said Rishi Sunak, a British member of Parliament and champion of more vigorous action to protect submarine networks. They underpin pretty much everything we do. Undersea cables conduct nearly 97% of all global communications and every day an estimated $10 trillion in financial transfers. So, and satellites, of course, are one crucial but now limited in speed and bandwidth, tiny percentage of global communications. So, that being the issue, I was reading up on this issue with this Yantar. This is Russia's new spy ship that has actually cruised up the East Coast and stopped right here, right in my backyard, off of Kings Bay, where we have 6 boomers, Russian boomers up there. And also, strangely, when we covered the issue with the Normandy, where that sailor went overboard and we correlated it to an undersea cable cut, that actually followed the path of this ship. All the way it cruised from down here, near Florida, Georgia, all the way up to New London in Connecticut. So there's obviously no video proof or anything like that it cut that cable, but boy, I tell you what, it's just yet another strange coincidence. Now, in this article, it brings up the point that here the Chief of UK Defence states, Air Chief Marshal Sir Stuart Peach says a strike against internet and other communications cable could be catastrophic. And that's absolutely right. And explains how these fiber optic cables work, and that it's just light down there. It's not electronic data. So you would need a very, very specific type of submersible to be able to tap in to that. And the Yantar has that equipment designed for deep-sea tracking and devices that connect to top-secret communications cables. And that's from, I'm going to say this right, Parliamentskaya Gazeta in Russian last October. So we have that. So I was reading through here and I saw this issue with the Lyman. Okay, and that was actually in April, and that was over off the Turkish coast. So we can add that to our list of ships, military ships that got collided with other vessels, and this one sank. Now, that led me down another road, and what I'm going to show you at the end of today's video is going to be very, very important. But anyway, this talks about Kings Bay here, and I will definitely get to it. The ship's strange movements were tracked by a website called Covert Shores. We're talking about the Lyman. Now, folks, I would recommend every single person go to this site. This is a wealth and a treasure trove of information. I have just found it today. It is www.hisutton, that's hisutton.com/Yantar. I'll put it right up there for you. And there is some neat stuff in this website. Boy, I tell you what, they go through they have some fantastic pictures and tracking and information. It is just an absolutely incredible site to go to. But something in this site got me thinking about the issue with the Fitzgerald. Now I'm just scrolling down here just to give you an example of what you can see here. Here's the layout of the submersibles that are aboard the Yantar, how they deploy them, the equipment they deploy them with. And down here, when I was looking through this, he comes across something that I found very, very, very coincidental. And it's right down here. I'm getting to it. There you go. Circumstantial evidence of Yantar carrying blue shipping containers supports this. A close-up of shipping containers on the Yantar. Note the openings in the sides. Yantar has also been seen on multiple occasions with shipping containers, which do not match the ones seen with the ARS-660. You can read the article knowing what to know what they are referring to there. So shipping containers aboard this spy ship. Now, let's go back to here. This is the issue with the Fitzgerald. This is the beginning of the video, the IS track of the Wan Hai and the ACX crystal. Now I'm going to play this forward and put forth a theory that, remember the Bai Chi bridge? How she was just sitting there? Let's say the Bai Chi bridge had one of these shipping containers and was covertly being used to tap the cable that we have already established is down there. And they had some kind of a problem, a mechanical breakdown, or something happened with this ROV where it was maybe on the surface and unretrievable. And the U.S. got wind of it because maybe we've done some, tapping of our own. Maybe we have some intelligence. And they dispatched the USS Fitzgerald to beat feet down there and get a hold of this thing. The people that deployed the thing, maybe this is a Chinese issue, not a Russian issue, deploy these two ships, the ACX Crystal and the Wan Hai 266. Now remember, when they tried to confront the owner of the ACX Crystal after this happened about the destination of the ACX Crystal, he wouldn't disclose it. He wouldn't say what its destination was. So just follow me on this logic. So the Wan Hai maybe is the ACX Crystal's backup plan. Now remember, we got the USS Fitzgerald coming down here, 20 knots, flying down to a point in space. A point in space where we know there's a bend in the cable, where it goes from 190 to 240. And they're both basically racing for the same spot, the Crystal and the Fitz. I'm going to continue to play this forward. Okay, now look how the Wan Hai lays off here. Okay, what if the Wan Hai was the backup plan? The Crystal hits her, in case the Crystal would miss, or the Fitz would be able to evade somehow. That the Wan Hai could finish the job. And with the full-on, right in the middle smack of the Fitz, the Crystal clearly thought she sunk her. So she continues down her path, and the Wan Hai moves up towards the Bai Chi Bridge. Now, having done her job, she's now on search. The Wan Hai disappears, and as we pass here, the Bai Chi Bridge turns off her tracking. So the Crystal has two problems now. It probably has heard over communications that, maybe perhaps from other ships, that the Fitz hasn't sunk. That maybe this was witnessed by other vessels. So she's got to come back to finish the job. And that might be the 220 event. Because we see, as we see here, we see this other strange, incredibly unlikely turn and change in direction from the ACX Crystal. Maybe the Wan Hai recovered this thing. Maybe it did the search and rescue while the ACX Crystal was trying to take out the Fitz. And this real slowdown and backup right here, maybe this is where they do the handoff of this thing. You got to remember, these submersibles weigh thousands of pounds. So you would need the kind of equipment necessary, cranes and heavy lifting equipment, that these ships have. And as we know, instead of going up the channel like she was slated to, that's why she said she made the turn toward the Fitz, goes out here and loiters for, before I had said 3 hours, it was actually 5. The Crystal loiters out here. so that's, I know I've had some theories, folks, but we're going on open source intelligence. And now that we have clearly seen that the stories all match up with cables, every single one of them, the Fitz, the McCain, the Lake Champlain, the Statham, and the Normandy, all correlate to cable structures, underwater submarine cable structures, and cuts in those cables. Now, this is a picture that I know it seems unrelated, but this is the Sukhoi, the Russian Sukhoi that did this flyby on the Cook. And we might be in an information war, and there might be 3 players dealing in this war, us, the Russians, and the Chinese. And this isn't maybe one of those things where it's necessarily always an enemy of your enemy is your friend type of thing. Maybe World War III might actually have a secondary meaning with it's going to have 3 players instead of just 2. And this is about the Lyman here and where it sank. But here, the reason I brought this particular tab up is a former commander of the fleet, Admiral Viktor Khodovchenko, told Interfax the event was out of the ordinary. There have been collisions, but I do not remember a case like this of a vessel, a warship, sinking after it. So they had their own issue as well. And here was the disinformation article that came out from Science and Tech. Why it was really no big deal, and it was an old ship, and there wasn't anything on it, and the crew was able to destroy everything if there was, type of thing. So anyway, but clearly the biggest thing we're going to take away from today is that this ship, this Yantar, much bigger than it looks. I mean, it's the pictures we've seen of it, there was really nothing to reference it to, but this is a massive vessel. It's a huge, huge ship. It's got, I mean, look at how big this this bay is, where this crane comes out and drops these things down. It's got 2 3-man submersibles, incredibly high-tech stuff. And this site, hisutton.com /Yantar, they do other things too besides the Yantar. This is some incredible intelligence. So I would highly recommend everyone go here and take a look at this. It shows how this thing operates, and I think we have a much closer idea of what happened the night of 16-17 June of last year. So like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of the comments and the help, and we will see you next time. Thank you.